Welcome to today's deep dive into the future of work. We're taking a look at Glassdoor's Work-Life Trends 2025 report today. And it's like we're getting a personalized briefing on what to expect for our careers the next few years. Really interesting stuff. But before we dive in, if you like what you hear today, be sure to sign up for more deep dives. You can find the link to the full Glassdoor report down in the description. One of the coolest things about this report is that it's not just speculation, like gazing into a crystal ball. It's based on hard data, stuff like employee reviews, salaries, surveys. We're talking real insights drawn from what people are experiencing at work right now. So we're using that to kind of map out where things are headed, all the way to 2025 and maybe even beyond.
It is really fascinating to see how Glassdoor's chief economist, Daniel Zhao, frames this whole thing. He talks about this economic whiplash. On paper, the economy seems stable, right? But so many workers just aren't feeling it. And I think that disconnect
Yeah.
between like the big picture and what people are experiencing individually, that's what's fueling a lot of these trending trends.
It's like a simmering pot, all these trends bubbling up. And one of the things that's really coming to the surface is this whole idea of pent-up resentment. You ever get that feeling of being stuck in your job, like hitting a ceiling?
Well,
You're not alone. Glassdoor found that a crazy 65% of workers feel that way.
and it's more than just a feeling. The data shows it too. Quit rates are at their lowest point since 2015, around 1.9% as of late 2024. Now you might think, okay, low turnover, that's good for companies. But it's not that simple. It's not about loyalty. It's about a lack of options. People are staying put because they feel like they have to, not because they want to.
This is where that whole quiet quitting thing comes in, right?
Mhm.
It's not about actually quitting,
Mhm.
but mentally checking out,
Mm.
doing just enough to get by. Because you're not happy, but you feel like you're trapped.
Exactly. And you see this reflected in the Glassdoor ratings too. People are getting more and more pessimistic about their career opportunities within their companies, especially in areas like IT, pharmaceuticals, even media, like you're trying to climb a career ladder that's suddenly become a lot more slippery.
So what happens when people can't climb up? Or even worse, they're forced to take a step down. That leads us to Glassdoor's second big trend, falling down the career ladder.
Yeah, it's a trend driven by pure necessity. When the job market softens up, people have to make compromises. They accept positions that might pay less or come with less responsibility just to stay afloat. And the data from Glassdoor paints a pretty stark picture. 17% of people who switched jobs last year actually took a pay cut.
That's a huge red flag, not just for your immediate finances, but for your long-term career too. Imagine taking a demotion,
Yeah.
maybe losing your management title, missing out on learning key skills. Even when the job market bounces back, it's going to be way harder to climb back up. You're not just stuck in traffic, you might be on a completely different road.
Exactly. And then that creates this ripple effect. You have these experienced people competing for entry-level jobs with new grads, driving up competition even more, and really squeezing out those just starting their careers. It's a total logjam, and we could be dealing with the consequences for years. You combine this pent-up resentment with fewer and fewer good career options. It's a recipe for a volatile situation. What happens when that pressure finally blows?
Well, Zhao predicts a wave of what he calls revenge quitting, basically, when the job market picks back up. All those people who felt stuck, they're going to have options, and they're going to be ready to jump ship. It's like a ticking time bomb for companies, especially those who haven't really addressed employee satisfaction or focus on career development. We've got to think beyond just salaries and benefits. It's about creating a workplace where people feel valued, where they see a future for themselves. Otherwise, you risk losing your best people the moment they get a better offer.
It's almost like this whole situation is forcing people to get creative, to find their own way. Like amidst all this talk about resentment and career setbacks, there's another story unfolding. The rise of the side hustle. Remember that whole nobody wants to work narrative? Yeah, the data kind of blows that out of the water. Labor force participation is actually at a 20-year high.
So it's not that people don't want to work, it's that they're changing what work even means,
Yeah.
Taking control, finding new ways to learn skills, build financial security. And side hustles are a big part of that. Glassdoor's report shows 39% of employees have a side hustle going. That's wild. Almost 4 out of 10 people juggling a second gig.
And it's even more common with younger folks, 57% for Gen Z, 48% for millennials. For them, it's not just about that extra cash. It's about building a diverse skill set, exploring their passions, creating a safety net because the world feels kind of unpredictable right now.
It's like this entrepreneurial spirit is just ingrained in them. I mean, they grew up seeing people build online businesses, becoming influencers, turning hobbies into income streams. And social media definitely plays a role, right? normalizing, even glorifying this whole hustle culture.
Yeah, it's not your typical 9 to 5 grind anymore. It's about making your own opportunities, setting your own hours, being your own boss to a certain extent. And this has major implications for companies, for employers. They can't just offer a paycheck and expect loyalty these days.
Exactly. People want more than just a job. They're looking for purpose, growth opportunities, flexibility, a workplace that actually supports their well-being. Which brings us to another key trend from the report, holistic well-being.
Yeah, the old playbook doesn't cut it anymore, just offering health insurance and a 401k. It's not enough. Employees want more. They want to feel valued, supported, empowered to live a good life, inside and outside of work.
And mental health is a huge piece of that puzzle. Almost half of workers say it's harder now than it was 5 years ago to prioritize their mental well-being at work. Think about all that pressure we talked about earlier, feeling stuck in your job, dealing with career setbacks, juggling a side hustle on top of everything else. It's no wonder people are feeling this strain.
Definitely. But I think companies are starting to catch on. They're realizing that supporting employee well-being, it's not just the right thing to do, it's good for business. We're seeing a huge increase in companies offering mental health benefits, expanding parental leave, family leave, bereavement leave. It's like they're acknowledging that life happens outside of work, and employees need support to deal with it all.
It's a big shift in perspective. Going from seeing employees as just cogs in a machine to recognizing them as people with lives, families, needs, and aspirations that go beyond their job title.
Absolutely. This whole holistic well-being approach is a positive step, creating workplaces where people feel valued, respected, and supported. And ultimately, that leads to a more engaged workforce, more productive and more fulfilled.
So we've explored some major trends here. Pent-up resentment, career setbacks, the rise of side hustles, this growing emphasis on well-being. But just like any dynamic landscape, there are always new challenges popping up. We've talked about these major trends reshaping the workplace. But the Glassdoor report also points to some up-and-coming themes, things that are just starting to take shape, but could have a big impact down the road. One that really stood out to me was ageism in the workplace.
Yeah, it is interesting with all this focus on generational differences. We kind of forget that ageism can affect anyone at any point in their career.
Exactly. You've got younger workers dealing with assumptions about their experience or lack thereof, while older workers face stereotypes about their ability to adapt or keep up with technology. It's this double whammy that creates a real sense of inequality.
And it's such a missed opportunity. I mean, talent doesn't have an expiration date, right? Experience brings so much to the table, knowledge, a different perspective, while younger workers often bring fresh ideas. A willingness to challenge the way things are done. A truly inclusive workplace values all of that.
For sure. Speaking of challenges, another rising theme that caught my eye was workplace loneliness. It seems counterintuitive, right? We're more connected than ever thanks to technology, but people are feeling more isolated.
Yeah, it's a real paradox. And it affects both remote and in-office workers, this constant pressure to be on, to be productive. It can sometimes come at the expense of those casual interactions. You know, the ones that actually build relationships and a sense of belonging.
It's like we're so busy checking things off our to-do lists that we forget to connect with the actual human beings around us.
Yeah, and the consequences can be pretty serious. Loneliness can lead to stress, burnout, even depression. It's not just a personal problem. It impacts productivity, engagement. I think smart companies are starting to recognize this. They're taking steps to foster a stronger sense of community.
Things like encouraging more face-to-face interactions, even in a hybrid work setup, creating opportunities for social events, or just being mindful about how we structure work to allow for those casual moments of connection. It's about realizing that a sense of belonging, it's just as important as a paycheck.
Absolutely. And there's this other trend emerging too, something the report calls out, increased attendance tracking in the workplace, which kind of ties into some of what we've been talking about. With more remote and hybrid work, some companies are getting stricter about monitoring employees, when and how they're working. Think badge swipes, computer monitoring, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's a tough one. On the one hand, companies want to make sure people are doing their work, but on the other, it can create this atmosphere of mistrust, micromanagement. There was a recent Glassdoor poll that found most workers don't see these monitoring practices as helpful or necessary. Actually, they can be pretty demoralizing.
It really comes down to trust. Building a culture of trust empowers people.
Make them more accountable, and ultimately leads to better results. Overly strict monitoring does the opposite. It reminds everyone that they're being watched, which kind of undermines the whole idea of flexibility and autonomy.
Right, it's this reminder that as the way we work changes, the way we manage and lead needs to change too.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from pent-up resentment and career setbacks, to the rise of side hustles, ageism, even the persistence of loneliness. In this supposedly hyper-connected world, the workplace is constantly evolving, and navigating all these changes requires awareness, adaptability, and honestly, a willingness to challenge the status quo.
Yeah, the big takeaway here is this. The future of work isn't something that just happens to us. We create it together by understanding the trends, having these conversations, prioritizing well-being both individually and collectively. We can build a workplace that's not just productive, but fulfilling and fair.
Couldn't agree more. We've just scratched the surface today, and we want to hear from you. Have you experienced any of these trends firsthand? What resonated with you the most? Share your thoughts. Join the conversation. After all, shaping the future of work is a conversation we all need to be a part of.